Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Krishna Gauravani Pachani Nirvishesha Nunavani Pashata
ഫോണിൽ കാണാ എനിക്ക്. അതെങ്ങനെയാ കാണുന്നേ? പ്രൊജക്ട് ചെയ്യണേ? ഓ, ഇനി ഇത് കഴിയുമ്പോ ചേട്ടൻ വരും. അതുവരെ എനിക്ക് ക്ലാസ് എടുക്കും.
Jaya Sri Krishna Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gauravata Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Gauravata Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
That's spiritual reason.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Pretty nice.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Oh, fair enough.
Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna, Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare Rama,
Hare
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Baladeva, Jai Subhadra, Jagannath Swami, Bhagavani, Radha Sharad Bihari Radha Sharad Bihari Radha Jaya Gauranitai
Paramahamsa Paribhrajacharya Sutatada Shishimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Paramahamsa Paribhrajacharya Sutatada Shishimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Gopi Vaishnava Ki Jai Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Thanks to host Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Krishna Gopa Govindam Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhana Ki Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Jai Dham Ki Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Gangamai Yamuna Mari Ki Bhakti Devi Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Nam Sankirtan Ki Jai Gaur Premanande Hari All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories of glories to the seat of Shri Guru and Sri Gauranga.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Prahlada Hiranyakashi Purvaksha Shaha. Narasingha Madim Sharanam Prapade.
Jaya Jagadish Hare, Jaya Jagadish Hare, Jaya Jagadish Hare. Vatavakara Kamala Radha, Aruta Singha.
Sona. Is that you, Vishnu Galaxy 59? I don't hear anything. Any
जय सर्वविघ्न विनाशकारी सिंहदेव भगवान की, शुद्ध भक्त प्रहलाद महाराज की
जय।
जय। बोल सीतानाथ महादेव
हरि हरि बोल। Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone. All those viewing on Zoom as well as YouTube for our Sunday program. We just had a delightful kirtan by Suhikaranga Prabhu for Lord Jagannath, Shishi Gaurnitai, and Shishi Radhashard Bihari. This evening, we will study the Bhagavad Gita, continue our study. We took a little break there for a couple of weeks as we prepared for Janmashtami. We heard some Leela of Krishna, different pastimes of his. And this is also a pastime, the Kurukshetra pastime, with him and his friend Arjuna. With us tonight, we have His Grace Haryasva Prabhu. Those of you who are here from Philly, of course, you know Haryasva Prabhu, devotee since the 70s here, disciple of His Holiness Satsrup Maharaj. For years, he's run the restaurant downtown, various preaching endeavors, you know, the Bhakti Garden Preaching Center. You know, so many devotees have come through the programs that he's done. And he's really just a wealth of knowledge for us here in Philadelphia. In particular, I always liked hearing the Bhagavad Gita because it's a book that he loves to read and share with others. So tonight we're going to be on the Bhagavad Gita, second chapter, text 52. That's where we left off several weeks ago. But before we get to that, I would like to give everybody a quick darshan of the deities. We had kind of a zoomed out view, unless you were here for the greeting right after 4 o'clock. So I'm just going to take you around real quick, starting with Srila Prabhupada, and then I'll hand it over to you, Haryasva Prabhu. His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki. Most Merciful Lordship, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai Ki.
Jai.
Here, Lord Jagannath, Baladev, and Lady Subhadra, Maharani Ki.
Jai.
Beautiful turbans today. Yeah. And our most beautiful lordships, Shri Shri Radha Shard Bihari.
Jai.
And their Sunday best. Okay. With that, Haryasva Prabhu, I'm going to hand it over to you. Are you there with us?
Muted again.
There you go. Good.
Okay, I can't see. Do you have enough light? Can you see me? Yeah, it's working. Drone. Hare Krishna. So I'm not so used to this, and drone is not there. Do I chant Radha Mata?
Yes, Prabhu. Please.
Okay. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janvalava Girivardhari Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Prajajana Jamunatira Vanashadi Jamunati Jayaradama Jabihari Jaya Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayam Vishnu Pad Paramahangsa, Bhari exactly charge Asto to the Sata, Sri Sri Madhi's Divine Loving Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnu Pad Paramahangsa, brief exactly charge Asto to the Sata, Sri Sri Madh, His Divine Loving Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, Srila Prabhupada, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sika Ho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Shivasi Gaur Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Maya Yamuna Maya Swami Ki Jai. Jagannatha Baladev Subhadra Ki Jai. Shri Shri all glory is symbol of all glories to Lotus feet of Sri Guru and Sri Guranga. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Drona, I don't hear my mic. I don't hear letting me know that you hear me.
I can hear you. We get a little bit of interruption from now and then.
Okay,
as far
see,
as
now,
your mic is concerned, I don't know how it's set up.
no,
Maybe Vrindavan
this,
issue.
well, the way it is now, I can hear you and I can hear myself
No,
speaking.
Prabhu, your microphone's fine. It's no problem at all. Your internet's having a little bit of delays. It might be because it's a Sunday and everyone's probably streaming things. So it's probably because you're in a densely populated area. So there's nothing we can do. Just keep going on, Prabhu. We can hear you.
Okay, I'm ready. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, and we're reading the text 52. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, I told you I'm not used to this method. Anyway, we're going to do verse 52 today. The contents of the Gita summarized. Yada lam buddhya vritit tarishati buddhya vrati tarishati tadagantasi nivedam shrotavyasya shrutashacha yada te moha kalilam buddhya vrati tarishati tadagantasi nivedam shrotavyasya shrutashacha yada te moha kalilam buddhya vyatir tarishati tada gantasi nivedam shrochavyasya shrutashacha yada when te your moha of illusion kalilam dense forest. Buddhi, transcendental service with intelligence. Vrati Tarishati, surpasses Tada at that time. Ganta Asi, you shall go. Nirvedam, callousness. Of Yasha, towards all that is to be heard. Shrutasha, all that is already heard. Cha, also. Translation: when your intelligence has passed out of the dense forest of delusion, you shall become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard. By His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. There are many good examples in the lives of the great devotees of the Lord, of those who became indifferent to the rituals of the Vedas simply by devotional service to the Lord. When a person factually understands Krishna and his relationship with Krishna, he naturally becomes completely indifferent to the rituals of fruitive activities, even though an experienced Brahmana, Srimad Puri, a great devotee and acharya, in the line of the devotee says, Sandhya Vandanam Bhadram Astu Bhavato Bo Snana Tubhyam Namo Bo Deva Pitaras Cha Tarpana Vido Naham Shama Shamyatam Yatra Vapi Nisadya Yadava Kulutam Shasha Kamsa Dvisha Smaran Agham Harami Tad Alam Anyena Me. O my prayers, 3 times a day, all glories to you. O bathing, I offer my obeisances unto you. O demigods, O forefathers, please excuse me for my inability to offer you my works. Now, whenever I sit, I can remember the great descendant of the Yadu dynasty, Krishna, the enemy of Kamsa, and thereby I can free myself from all sinful bondage. I think this is sufficient for me. The Vedic rites and rituals are imperative for neophytes. Comprehending all kinds of prayers 3 times a day, taking bath early in the morning, offering respects to the forefathers, etc. But when one is fully in Krishna consciousness and is engaged in his transcendental loving service, one becomes indifferent to all these regulative principles because he has already attained perfection. If one can reach the platform of understanding by service to the Supreme Lord Krishna, he has no longer to execute different types of penances and sacrifices as recommended in revealed scriptures. And similarly, if one has understood that the purpose of the Vedas is to reach Krishna and simply engage in the rituals, etc., then he is uselessly wasting time. Such engagements, in such engagements, persons in Krishna consciousness transcends the limits of Shabda Brahma or the range of the Vedas and Upanishads. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Satsrupadas Goswami Tanamine Satsrupa Vidam Vindam Sarabhushnam Bhakti Grantananai Punyam Bhakti Granta Shiksam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tanamine Namaste Sarasvati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvashesha Shunyavani Paschatya Desitarine. So Arjuna said, "Oh Krishna, what is wrong verse? When your intelligence is passed out of the dense forest of delusion, you shall become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard." So, Krishna and Arjuna have been. We're in the 2nd chapter, and we're at text 52. So they've been speaking. And now Krishna is speaking to Arjuna in response to information and understanding that he's given him earlier Krishna has explained to Arjuna needs to really use his intelligence. And this isn't just some ordinary understanding, some influence and emotive passion. Earlier on, Krishna spoke to Arjuna about Vyavasadatmika buddhi, resolute, fixed intelligence, single pointed. And so to keep a view of what's going on, I'll just let you see what's happening. He told him, those who are on this path are resolute in purpose and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many-branched. Men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, result in good birth, power, and so forth. Being desirous of forced gratification and opulent life, they say that there is nothing more than this. In the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence, and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination for devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not. But again, the Vedas deal mainly with the subject of the three modes of material nature. All Arjuna become transcendental to these three modes. Be free from all dualities and from all anxieties for gain and safety, and be established in the self. So that just gives you a glimpse of what's going on in the conversation. And Arjuna doesn't want to incur sin. So there's certain things that he just does not want to do, like kill his relatives. And he wants to make sure that things can work nicely, not just for himself, because he's concerned about his own happiness, but he's also concerned about the future, that if this war takes place and if the elders are killed, then the women still, they're unprotected, and from the unprotected women, unscrupulous men will be exploitative, and there comes unwanted progeny, and the whole civilization will fall into ruination. So this is such a picture, because the picture that Arjuna is painting in his mind is a picture of such devastation. But still, it shows several things. It shows, one, that he's attached to making sure that he's happy and that there can be continuance of the dynasty. So in other words, he's not just thinking about his body and mind, but he's thinking of his extended sense gratification, meaning he's thinking of his family members, his friends, and things like that. And the methodology in which he's trying to use to make sure that things work out for them is that he's trying to make sure he stays under the instructions of the Vedas, that he does all the proper things, all the right rituals, all the right prayers, don't kill anybody. So he's trying to make sure he does all the do's and that he does not do those things which will cause him to have a negative reaction. But Krishna is trying to let him understand that there is going to be a negative reaction, even if you do the good things, because whatever you do is reactionary. And the reaction means that there's another body, and that we're stuck on this cycle of samsara continuously, birth after birth. So Krishna, since Arjuna was so kind to stop his original line of understanding and to take shelter of Arjuna's, he says, yeah, it's true, I'm confused about my duty, and that in this state I've lost all composure. And he diagnosed his state as miserly weakness of heart. So in this condition, he asked Krishna to tell him for certain what's best for him. So he's taking shelter. Now I am surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. And Krishna wastes no time instructing Arjuna. So in instructing Arjuna, he's educating Arjuna. And what's interesting to me is that this conversation with Krishna and Arjuna is such an old conversation, over 5,000 years old. And oftentimes the devotees wonder, yeah, it's nice, the Bhagavad Gita is encouraging, but what does this have to do with me? How does the Bhagavad Gita translate into the situations that I'm dealing with in 220? You know, I'm a different person. We're not fighting our family members, so to speak, at least not on the battlefield. You know, there is no fratricidal war, you know. And so it's the situation. In many instances, we think that the situation is so different. But the situation for us is that we are always trying to find happiness. We're looking for that happiness. And we're trying to avoid distress. And all of our activities are so many of them are on the bodily conception of life. It is so difficult to get away from the bodily conception of life. This is conditioning. And that conditioning is not just done because you're raised by mom and mom had grandmom take care of you and you're in a certain part of the world, there's a certain influence. These things are there. But the real influence is three influences, the three influences of material nature. And that's goodness, passion, and ignorance. And as you can tell that from the depiction of what these modes are like, you know, how they act, how they bind, how they give liberation. So the understanding of these modes, you can see that in this Kali Yuga, we are pretty much in the modes of passion and ignorance, or should I say ignorance, you know, with the influence of passion. And we're trained up to work, but to take the fruits of our we're trained to take the fruits of our labor. So in doing so, we're not even conscious of the fact for every action, there's a reaction. We're not conscious of this. This is the training in the Kali Yuga age. And they're under the Vedic understanding. It's a gradual process, what Krishna is going to explain to Arjuna. You know, the offerings to the demigods, you know, all these different situations are legal. If you need a nice wife, if you need some money, you know, whatever it is you want, they're worshiping different demigods for these things. It's legal, it's bona fide. But ultimately, they're worshiping Krishna in a wrong way. Krishna says you can do this, but if any purvakam, it's being done in the wrong way. So Arjuna is situated now to not be in the situation as he's been in. If we listen closely, the information will enable us to change the trajectory of our own life. So Krishna is telling Arjuna has passed the dense forest of illusion. You know, what is this dense forest of illusion Krishna is speaking of? So here, he says the force of illusion. He's that this whole material tabernacle that we're working under, as long as we're working under the influences of the three modes of material nature, there will be no happiness. It's not going to take place. So he's trying to explain to Arjuna, this path will not work for you. Therefore, Utilize your intelligence. With your intelligence, engage in the service of the Supreme Lord. So this is the first point that is expressed here. And so I'm going to go. He spoke so extensively on Buddha yoga in this section of the second chapter. But he again picks up Buddha yoga in the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So there you get a better glimpse of what Krishna is saying. So in 10:10, we hear Tesham Satsada Yuktanam, Bachasam Priti Purvakam, Tadami Buddhi Yogam Tam. You know, Krishna says to those who are constantly devoted to serving me with the understanding by which they can come to me. So we'll hear a little Vishwanath Chakravarti. It says, Krishna's devotees understand him, not only by hearing about him, but also because Krishna enters their hearts and reveals himself to them. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti here defines Buddha yoga as Krishna's direct inspiration. Because the devotees intensely desire to know Krishna, gives them complete understanding of himself. Srila Prabhupada discussed this point in his purport. A person may have a bona fide spiritual master and may be attached to a spiritual organization, but still, if he is not intelligent enough to make progress, then Krishna from within gives him instructions so that he may ultimately come to him without difficulty. The qualification is that a person always engage himself in Krishna consciousness with love and devotion and render all kinds of services. Srila Prabhupada stresses the wonderful inspiration Krishna gives to reciprocate with his pure devotees' loving worship. So what's interesting here is that you hear how Krishna from within the heart is assisting, that he's helping the devotee. But we're going to go further because in the next verse, Krishna says to show them special mercy. I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. Again, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti explains, he says, Krishna says, I become Atma Bhavasta, like a bumblebee inside the whirl of a lotus. I become situated. So Krishna, becomes situated within the heart of the devotee. And here closer, in my transcendental personal form, I reveal my qualities, and with the shining lamp of knowledge, I destroy the darkness of ignorance. There's one other place. It's just too sweet, where Krishna gives one more explanation in this purport. He says that he personally within the heart, gives the devotee the understanding. So there's a big point that I don't want to miss, because it really is the point that goes to our clear understanding of Krishna's reciprocation with us. This is according to Srila Baladev Vijabhushana. Krishna's reply to the question about how a living entity who has been covered by ignorance since time immemorial can attain true enlightenment is as follows. The devotees themselves endeavor. No, not at all. To show them special mercy, I bestow upon them, but not upon any other yogi, the lamplight of knowledge. In other words, they don't have to worry about how to achieve my mercy, because I personally endeavor to give it to them. I am Atma Bhavasta, situated within the workings of their intelligence. Such a great sentence. Atma Bhava still. Krishna says, I am situated within the working of their intelligence. Because the knowledge that I give them can be revealed only by me, it is not something in the material mode of goodness. It is even something distinct from the normal transcendental knowledge arising from devotional service. With this lamp of knowledge, I destroy their ignorance because I personally destroy their ignorance. Why should they have to endeavor? According to my own words, to those who are always worship me with devotion, I carry what they lack and preserve what they have. The real intelligence which is needed is really supplied by Krishna. I from within the heart destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge that darkness born of ignorance. So in this particular purport, you hear Madhavinda Puri. He says, oh my prayers 3 times glory bathing, offer my obeisance unto you, O demigods, O forefathers, please excuse me for my inability to offer you my respects. Now, wherever I sit, I can remember the great descendant of the Yadu dynasty, Krishna, the enemy of Kamsa, and thereby I can free myself from all sinful bondage. I think this is sufficient for me. So this is the platform that we would like to be on. This is the platform which can appear impractical and unendurable. Here I am trying to deal with the influences of the 3 modes of material nature. Basically, I deal mostly with 2 modes of material nature. Goodness isn't so much a problem for us, but it is a problem for the living entity trying to make advancement. In the mode of goodness, one can experience a better form of happiness. And so because he's not so plagued, then he thinks that this sort of life is nice. And therefore, he has to birth again in the modes of material nature. But Krishna says, Mam chayovya bhikcharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samitit jaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. He said, for one who engaged in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends these modes of material nature, and thus comes to the spiritual platform, the level of Brahman. Bhakchamama Bijananti Kashmita. What Sri Krishna says again, one can know me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And one is in full union with me through such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. So this gold, which is being discussed, this experience of Madhavinda Puri, his desire no longer to follow, feeling that he no longer needs to be under the restrictions, the rules and regulations, because he has found the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For ourselves, Krishna can be known only by devotional service. And when we're connected, when we're in full union with Krishna through such devotion, then we can enter into the kingdom of God. But this process, which is being expressed here in the Bhagavad Gita, now Arjuna is in the section where the karma section. Even if we go through this and cultivate this knowledge, we won't be strong enough. We need that special mercy from Krishna. And Krishna is so kind that he's always bringing that special mercy. So what is that special mercy for us? That special mercy in the process of Krishna consciousness. Krishna from within, is a super soul. He's trying to help us. Externally, the spiritual master. But in this case, even externally, Krishna is trying to help us personally by speaking the Bhagavad Gita. What is God like? What does he expect from me? What does he want? This is it. This is the conversation. This is how we come to understand what is it that the Supreme Lord is expecting from me. How should I act? What does he know? What does he want me to know? So this Bhagavad Gita is what Krishna has to say. And he's speaking it to Arjuna. Why is he speaking it to Arjuna? Bhaktosi Mayata Cheti, because Arjuna is his devotee and friend. And therefore, he can enter into the mystery of the science. You know, Bhagavad Gita is Guyam, it's Rahasham, it's a mystery, it's a secret, but it's an open secret. Bhagavad Gita can be understood very easily only by devotees. Therefore, so many people will hear Bhagavad Gita and it will not be effective for them. Why? Because it will never be understood for one who is not devoted or who is not austere or one who is envious of Krishna. There's justification for hearing this subject matter, but we have to hear Bhagavad Gita the way Arjuna heard it. And it's interesting because I'm always wanting to hear what Arjuna heard. Arjuna went through 18 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. And Krishna explained karma, bhakti, jnana. He gave him knowledge and he gave him knowledge in a better way. And he explained that he had to work, but work for me or offer the fruits of your labor to me. So what Arjuna wanted to do, he just wanted to renounce work. But Krishna says, no, if you renounce work, you will incur sin. And you don't want to incur sin. Better than renounce, offer the fruits of that work to me. But how? By using your intelligence. Buddhi, take to the process of Buddhi yoga. Worship me by means of intelligence. He explained it so many places in the Bhagavad Gita that Arjuna has to worship him. Srila Prabhupada interchanges Buddhi and Bhakti back and forth. But Krishna told Arjuna, Tasmat Sarveshu Kaleshu Mam Anusmaya Yujacha. He says, therefore, Arjuna, always think of me, of Krishna. Same time, carry out your prescribed duty. Do your duty with your activities and intelligence dedicated to me, your mind fixed on me. Surely you come to me. I promise you this. He told him, Manmana Mavamad Bhakto. He said, always think of me, worship me, bow down, offer your homage unto me. Again, surely you'll come to me because you're my very dear friend. So Krishna has such a stake in this game. Krishna wants the devotee. But this wanting the devotee means that we have to turn to Krishna and do something different. In our lives, we have to decide that we want him. So this Bhagavad Gita, today, this story which is being discussed about Arjuna, the situation, the information Krishna is giving, it is the same information that we need to hear today. It's the same, bring us out of the dense darkness of illusion. It is the same information will help us to become indifferent to all that we have heard and all that is to be heard. Why? Because our situation is one of despair. We're trying to find happiness in a place where death is so prominent. We're trying to find happiness. We're always looking for that happiness, but the happiness that we're looking for can't exist in a place which is full of misery. And oftentimes it's difficult to see the misery because we think, well, some things are working for me. I've got the job, I have the income, I have somebody to share my life with. We're taking care of the kids. I'm not lonely anymore. So we feel that there's some shelter. But this is the delusion of the living entity. There is no shelter. This isn't meant to be, I'm not trying to be the bearer of bad news, but this is the illusion within the illusion. So many people are actually nice people. You know, even those who haven't come to the point yet of being devotees of the Supreme Lord, but who are searching, who are looking for the path. What are we really looking for? We try to find a spouse, a mate, a job, dharma, artha, karma, moksha. We're trying to find some economic development, some sense gratification, and ultimately, okay, I want to go to a heavenly place or be liberated. It's going to get back on that wheel, back on the cycle of repeated. And the human form of life is not guaranteed. Of course, he did tell Arjuna earlier, Neha Bikramanasosti, that in this endeavor, speaking of devotional life, there's no loss. A little advancement can protect you from the most dangerous type of fear. And that means anything we do here in this Krishna conscious movement now, if we don't make it, there's no loss, that we can continue. But the main thing for us is to understand that the process that we're in, the process that we've been given, that we've been raised in. Here, this is the Vedic viewpoint. Ours is a lower process, but that process doesn't work either. The only process is nasti buddhya ayuktasya, non-yuktasya bhavana. For one who's not connected with the Supreme and Krishna consciousness can have neither transcendental intelligence, which means it's above the influences of the mundane modes, can have neither transcendental intelligence or happiness, and or peace of mind. And how can there be happiness or peace of mind for one who's not connected with the Supreme? I twist that verse around a little bit. I got a little lost. For one who's not connected with the Supreme can have neither transcendental intelligence or peace. And how can there be happiness without any peace? So these components we're looking for happiness, we're looking for peace, and they're evading us. They're slipping through our fingers because the process that we're in is an illusory process. But there is a process which will enable us to taste the sweetness of devotional life. And that process is the process given for this age. Harinama, Harinama, Harinama eva kevalam, kalo nasteva, 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 gatiranyata. In this age, which is so full of faults, if one simply takes shelter of the holy name of the Lord, you know, then he'll attain the desired goal. There is no other way for spiritual perfection. One must take shelter of the Supreme Lord. Krishna is speaking with an urgency. He wants Arjuna to not be bewildered, to not fall prey to the allurements which are here in the material tabernacle. So he's educating him. And he's telling him, by means of intelligence, move out of this, you know, be indifferent to it. That indifference is one thing. That indifference is taking shelter of something else. Another explanation Srila Prabhupada said in his purport is that Buddha Yoga is the process by which one can get out of the entanglement of the world. This is the way we get out of this entanglement. If we take shelter of the holy name, the process which is being described, you know, which is being given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then that process, it does several things. Chaito Darpana Marjanam, it cleanses the heart. It, from the very beginning, we sought to cleanse the heart, the mirror of the heart, of those unwanted things. But then Rupa Goswami's methodology is also working, that we take that little spark, that little preliminary faith that we have, and from some good intelligence, we get association of the devotees. We make that clear decision. And from the association of devotees, which is as powerful as anything we're ever going to find. Shushu Shoshradhanasha Vasudeva Kataruchi. By serving the lotus feet of the Mahatmas, the great souls, a great service is done. And what happens? We gain that affinity for hearing the message of Vasudeva. So we want to take shelter of the lotus feet of those great souls. But in that association, we become strong, we become fixed up, and we become initiated into the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. That means we take serious the regulative principles of freedom. It means that we try to chant at least 16 good rounds of the Maha Mantra and offenses. And as we do this, eventually we're going to hit an arti nivritti, and we're going to have to start cleansing the heart. Well, take that cleansing along with Cheto Dharpana Marjanam. Take shelter of the holy name. And by taking shelter of the holy name, seeing ourselves as we are, seeing that we're struggling, we're becoming humiliated by the bombardment of the disease, the need for financial stability, the yearning for real knowledge. We're being bombarded. And those three kleshas, Adhyatmika, Adhidaivika, and Adhibodhika, they're beating us like anything. So we take shelter of the holy name. And as we go up that ladder from taking shelter of the holy name, at a certain point, we will be able to say, no, I'm done with these prayers. I'm done with these rituals. Right now we can say that, being engaged in the process of devotional service, because devotional service is so powerful that it destroys even the subtle body. Devotional service is, and the holy name on its side lets us understand our true identity as the eternal servant of the Supreme Lord. So the dynamic process of taking shelter of the Bhagavad, understanding that this is not an itihasa, this is not just a history. It is, but it's not just a history. The Bhagavad Gita is alive to the extent that we yearn to hear what Arjuna heard, that we situate ourselves and change our lives so that when we get to the section of the Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna says to Arjuna, I am speaking this supreme wisdom for your benefit. Deliberate on it fully and do as you wish to do. When he asked the question, have you heard with an attentive mind? Are your doubts and illusions now dispelled? We have to come to the point that we can say, yes, I have understood, and I'm ready to act by your grace. Krishna's grace is just woven all through the fabric of our lives. His mercy factor it's all there in devotional service, within the heart, within the holy name, within the process, within the spiritual master, within the fact that Brahmanda Bhagavan Kon, Brahmanda Bhagavan, I'm losing it again.
Brahmite Kon Bhagavan Guru Krishna. Brahmanda Brahmite.
Don't get old. Don't forget your
Kon Bhagavan Guru Krishna Kripaya Paya Bhakti Radhavij.
That special mercy, when we ourselves just searching, desiring to have the Supreme Lord, then Bhagavan Jeev, then the mercy of Krishna comes through the agency of the spiritual master, his representative. And we'll be ready and we'll get trained up. So this message, which is being expressed here, although it's being told to Arjuna, if we listen closely, if we listen real closely, we'll hear the message being spoken to us. It's being given to us. And I guess I'm supposed to stop. Do we discuss anything here?
Yes.
Are there a way that we have questions and responses?
Yes. Participants can ask questions or offer comments.
I don't know. I couldn't hear, so I took it off like that.
No, participants can ask questions and the devotees can ask questions and offer comments.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can criticize me too. I'll begin here. I find this very fascinating. First of all, thank you, Haryasva Prabhu. You took us through the Bhagavad Gita, and I really appreciate the perspective you give, because you give the context of the verse, what Arjuna is moving through, and then you pull in the different chapters and different concepts Krishna's mentioning in the Bhagavad Gita and bring it back to the verse. Thank you. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada really focuses on the Vedic rituals and transcending those Vedic rituals. And he writes the statement that it's imperative for neophytes to follow the Vedic rites. And he mentions praying 3 times a day, taking a bath early in the morning, offering respect to the forefathers. But when one comes to the process of Krishna consciousness, actually he says when one is fully in Krishna consciousness, that we can basically, we become indifferent to them, that we're not dependent upon them. Sometimes in our life, our bhakti is mixed. We hold, it could be certain obligations that we feel to family. It might be allegiances to, and it could be somewhat spiritual, but we still feel certain type of attachments to certain things. We haven't really removed ourselves from them, and our bhakti is mixed. Well, at least you identified it. You said we feel attachment. You rightly identified it. You said we feel attachment.
Yeah. And then I guess it's a really interesting concept. I mean, it really is that bhakti does not need anything to make it complete. Bhakti in itself is complete. In service to Krishna, everything else is cared for. Worshiping the forefathers, etc. So, how does one not make this so that it makes one lazy, where they say, okay, well, I just chant Hare Krishna, I don't have my responsibilities anymore because I'm engaged in bhakti yoga, and it makes one become lazy. Because I imagine that could happen as well.
Well,
to understand that, it took a long time to get to that question, because it's a really appreciation of the concept. But is that question?
I understand, but there's no question of being lazy. First of all, once we take the devotional service, even while we're not pure, the process is pure. The process is above the mundane influences. So once a person becomes connected with the parampara, you accept the spiritual master, and you engage in the service of the Supreme Lord, your other obligations are not there. You belong to the spiritual master. You've taken shelter of the spiritual master. And Arjuna, he was a man of the world. But Arjuna said to Krishna, Shishasteham, Sadimam Trumpam. He said, now I'm your Shishya. Disciple is not cheap. A soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. So Krishna is instructing Arjuna. Srila Prabhupada is instructing us in the science of Krishna consciousness. There's no room for lazy. When my body was younger, I didn't have time to breathe. First joined the temple, I thought I was going to call the old girlfriend every night. I said, well, I'll call her tomorrow, just to let her know what's happening. I was too busy. I had to get up on time, I had to chant my rounds, do my reading, attend a full morning program and go out and do my service. I didn't have time for Maya. It couldn't work. I didn't have time. So this being properly engaged in Krishna service, we don't become lazy, we become energized. Kevala Anandakanda. The process is supposed to be simply joyful. This process is wonderful to the extent that we break our attachments and depend on Krishna. He's moving. He's moving there in the heart. He wants to begin to direct us. He's trying to get us to take shelter of him. The spiritual master is introducing us to Nam Prabhu, same Krishna. He said, take shelter. And as we take shelter of the holy name, this is the prescribed way to become developed in Krishna consciousness. That holy name alone, it cleanses us, it purifies us, and we begin to reciprocate with Krishna. He reciprocates with us. It's real. We become nurtured. Why would we stay in the movement and just work all day and night? Are we sentimentalists? I don't think so. We're devoted. There's a taste. Devotional service also has a taste. We don't do it for the taste, but the taste is there. We have a yearning. Just like Krishna, is Rasaraj, we have that yearning to taste too. But the sweetness of devotional service must be experienced by disciples. So as we surrender, as we do the will of the spiritual master, the sweetness of the process of devotional service becomes revealed to us. Om Agana Temaranda Shah. We was in a darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master has opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. We become so grateful. Therefore, we have no time to waste. We stay busy. And if the sentiments and attachments are there for our family, at least label them to be what they are. You don't have to look at your family. Oh, my mother, I can't. It's there. But know this, that you've taken care of the responsibility. 7 up and back, they're going to be taken care of. You purify your existence. You become pure at heart, and you'll help all those that you care about. This is the process of devotional service. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what he's given, no other incarnation has been given. He's just given such a high standard of love of God. So it's a wonderful process. Start from where we're at, but take the Bhagavad Gita as a manual for us, a manual of a disciple. Arjuna wanted to be a disciple. Let's do that. Okay. Anybody else have anything to say? Thank you, Jordan. I can't believe it. Am I that much of a whiner? Y'all don't have anything to say? You can't even criticize?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Where have you been, Mother Sudhir?
Hare Krishna Haryasva Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
A couple of points, Prabhu. In regard to Drona Prabhu's question, you can actually do pure devotional service even if you are not pure yet. So, yeah, I mean, like, the verse mentioned was the stage of Madhavendra Puri. Of course, Madhavendra Puri is such an elevated devotee. But in our case, like you said, just taking shelter of Krishna, and then essence will come. Even in the very beginning, anybody can tell. Even the first time somebody comes to the temple, they get some kind of a, anand, some kind of bliss and knowledge from it. And then they feel that this is a, it's a process that works. When you do one time, you do all the time, and the more you do, the better. Like we said, talk about the chanting and the process, the more you do, Chetuda Paramarajanam. So it was very nicely explained, like even like Sukam Kartam Abhyayam, from the very beginning to the end, it is only Kevala Ananda Kanda.
That's why I love Mother Devi. Mother Devi, she's always tasting, She's a manifestation of being out there on that corner in the airport for all those years, passing out the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on the order of his divine grace. And therefore, when Lord Chaitanya uses you, you never forget the sweetness of trying to serve the mission. Are there any other comments or questions? Okay. So I thank you all so very much.
Thank you, Haryasva. Again.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada. A few announcements of things coming up this week. This Tuesday is Radhastami, the appearance day of Srimati Radharani. It's a day we fast until noon. We have two programs that are going on at ISKCON of Philadelphia. The first is a morning program. 5 o'clock in the morning, we're going to have Mangalarti. Every morning we have Mangalarti, but we're inviting the devotees to come for Mangalarti that day to celebrate the appearance of Srimati Radharani. There'll be a special abhishek done. Again, deities get abhishek every morning as part of their bathing, as part of their worship. This will be an abhishek where the Brahmins in the community can bathe the Lord. And then we'll chant japa together. And then there'll be a class by His Holiness Bhakti Purushottam Swami Maharaj at 7:30. He wrote a book on Srimati Radharani, and he's full of nectar, pastimes and glories of Srimati Radharani. So that's at 7:30 a.m. To 8:30. Then we'll have greeting the deities and Guru Puja after that. So please, we encourage the devotees. We know it's early. Some of you come from a distance, but if you'd like to, incorporate this as part of your worship that day, start the day off special with Srimati Radharani and her devotees. Then in the evening, as I mentioned, it's a fast until noon. And then in the evening from 6:30 to 8:30, we'll have a program here at the temple. It'll actually be outside, weather permitting, on the front lawn. We'll bring the Chota Radhakrishna deities out, and we'll have kirtan. There'll be a class, as well as a pushpa abhishek outside, a flower offering to the deities. So please join us if you can in person. If you can't come in person, we'll have the programs streamed online, so you can view it on YouTube. The class that Maharaj is giving is going to be on Zoom. Please check the newsletter. We'll send another reminder out tonight or tomorrow morning with all the detailed information. This coming Friday, we have Ekadasi. It's our day fasting from beans and grains. We also have, it's also a half-day fast. Because Saturday is Vamnadev's appearance day. So it's a half-day fast. We fast on Friday, half a day for Vamnadev. Coming up, we have Vajra Purnima. It's a very special day for the Srimad Bhagavatam. And to speak about that, I want to invite Denu Tarpata Prabhu. You there, Prabhu? Denu Tarpata?
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. And
Hare
thank you. And thank you for having me here. And first of all, I also offer my humble obeisances to His Grace Hari Ashwa Prabhu.
Obeisances right back to you.
Very beautiful lecture, Prabhu, and especially in this material world, everything is so illusionary and deluding. And the point that you mentioned about Krishna reciprocating with whatever devotees do, I think that is absolutely, something which I always take to my heart, that there is a lot of opportunities for us as devotees to do in Krishna's service. And this is what Bhadra Purnima also offers us as a contribution, and also as ISKCON Philadelphia, what we could do in the ISKCON movement. So Bhadra Purnima this year is on 1st of September, which will be the Tuesday after next. And in Srimad Bhagavatam, the 12th canto, 13th chapter, which is the last chapter in this Vedic literature, the 13th verse, the translation is, if on the full moon day of the month of Bhadra, one gives the Srimad Bhagavatam on a golden throne and gives it as a gift, he will attain the supreme transcendental destination. So in a way, this is a ticket to Goloka Vrindavan. And we want everyone to make the best use of it. This is Krishna's incarnation in Kali Yuga. He has appeared in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the most ripened fruit of Vedic knowledge. Even Srila Prabhupada also emphasized that we should receive it with both our hands as well as distribute it to others. Prabhupada mentioned that we should read Srimad Bhagavatam, means practice, and we should also preach or distribute it. So this is a wonderful opportunity for us at Philadelphia to come forward as a team and then contribute to the global cause. Worldwide, ISKCON temples and centers have taken a goal of 10,000 Srimad Bhagavatam sets to be distributed this year. 10,000. So we also want to be a part of this goal, contribute whatever we can, and a humble and sincere request to all the devotees who are on the call that if you don't have a Srimad Bhagavatam, please take one. This is the best time. If you still have a Srimad Bhagavatam, still please take one and gift it to someone who can benefit. Whether your family, whether your friends, whether your co-workers, whether your neighbors, anyone who has an inclination of spirituality, this is the right moment to seize upon it. And then last, even you can also sponsor it. So you can sponsor Srimad Bhagavatam and the temple will distribute on your behalf. Each set is only $260, and the Srimad Bhagavatam we have in multiple languages: English, Bengali, Gujarati, Hindi, Tamil, Telugu. So we have languages, and it's our humble request that please come forward and make the best use of this opportunity. This year, what is unique this year is that the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust is organizing a yagya at Ahubilam, which is in India, in Telangana state, Andhra Pradesh. It earlier used to be called Andhra Pradesh. So this is the place where Nrsingadev appeared. And those devotees who either take a set, gift a set, sponsor a set, or spread the word around, their names will be chanted at the yagya, which will be performed on September 2nd at Ahubilam in India. So this is another powerful mercy that one can get, especially in the times of this pandemic. Nrsingadev protects all devotees, and especially those who really are doing service to Lord Krishna. So again, as we said, like, please spread the word, and so that each and every one of us can know about it and contribute on the day of Bhadra Purnima. Thank you. And if you have any questions, feel free to let us know, and we will be able to help you with the answers. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Dan Tarpata Prabhu. And if somebody wants if somebody wants to get a book, if they're interested, if a set, how do they contact you? Or how do they reach out?
Sure, Prabhu. So I can be reached on my cell as well as my email. At least my cell, very kind of Dhanacharya Prabhu to include my cell in the newsletter that went out yesterday. So feel free to reach out on my cell. If still, you can also reach out to Dhanacharya Prabhu or anyone in the temple, and I think we will coordinate amongst ourselves. We work fantastically as a team, and then we will ensure that you get the Srimad Bhagavatam before the day of Bhadra Purnima.
Great. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, again, we'd like to thank Haryasva Prabhu,
Thank you.
for spending the time with us tonight and teaching us Bhagavad Gita. The temple is about to open. If anybody would like to come for darshan this evening, the temple will be open until